Hey guys and gals, welcome back to Andrew-Unfiltered. I'm your host, or your journey expert. I am Andrew, trying to get in a habit of posting these videos at least once a day on my journey through mental illness. To recap, I'm a 20-year war veteran. I'm like a war veteran. I'm a 20-year veteran that's been around the block a couple of times. I joined in 1996. I retired in 2016 as a gunnery sergeant, E7. And I didn't listen to my body while I was in the Marine Corps. I had other things on my mind. I had other people on my mind. I had things that I couldn't control on my mind. And I pretty much abused and used my mind, my body, and my soul. So I'm on this journey to awaken myself on the many options that I've had not had. Sorry, my little robot friend is out there sweeping. Y'all need Jesus. But so I'm on this journey to open up and give everybody a look-see on the past 20 years of my life. I want to talk in this episode, I want to talk about leadership. And you're probably asking yourself, what does leadership have to do with your mental health? It has to do a lot, actually. I got my PhD in leadership or business management with an emphasis in leadership. I studied this context deeply, intimately, and thoroughly for the past, or not to say past, but for at least 6 years of my life while I was in the Marine Corps. Because I wanted to understand why military leaders, you had some good ones and you had some bad ones. And I wanted to understand, you know, what do the bad ones, how do they affect, you know, followers? A follower can be anything from a junior rank, you know, anybody with junior rank, yeah, that's it. And I wanted to understand how senior leadership has an effect on followers in the military. So I wrote my dissertation on situational leadership, qualitative study on followers in the military, and I found out a lot. I found out that a majority of officers and enlisted pawn off stuff to their junior Marines. When I say, like, I'm not talking about like anybody like E2, E3. I'm just talking about, let's say, a captain pawn stuff off to a master sergeant or gunny or whatever, E7, E8, and come to find out is they pawned these tasks off on these subordinates with the understanding of reward, gratitude, i.e. a fit rep, a favorable fit rep. But in short, the officer just didn't, or the officer of the senior enlisted just didn't want to do the work. It was beneath them. And you're probably like, well, duh. But that way of thinking, there was no reward in the end for it, you know. I might want to get you to like me, so I'm willing to go do some things for you. You know, that kid that'll do anything for you just for you to get the attention and for you to play or join their game or do whatever. And that's what it was. So, again, what does this have to do with mental health? Well, let's start from the beginning of my career as a private in 1996 when I went to SOI. You know, I'm a mama's boy. I was the only boy out of two girls. And I always was interested in what was going on. And so I used to say why a lot. I used to say why, but now I understand that why can have a question behind it. You know, why are we running up this hill? Rather than saying, the benefit of running up this hill is going to do what for us in the future. You know, just kind of like adding context rather than just saying why because it sounds so derogatory. I used to get thumped on the head. I used to get, you know, the 2 fingers. They thought I was still in boot camp. We ran like 15 miles in boots and utes. And it just kept eating away. Like, I'm trying to understand about what's going on, and I wasn't going about it the right way. So I went to SOI to be a small gunner, you know, rocket gunner, but I got pneumonia and got kicked back to a next class. I was supposed to go to the fleet like 6 months early, but anyways, I graduated as a small gunner, but when I got to the fleet they made me an 0311, even though I had the MOS of a 3051 or 2, I don't remember. I got sent to Camp Lejeune, 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines, Charlie Company, 3rd Platoon. I pissed a lot of people off. I had a staff sergeant, I'll leave his name out there, retired Sergeant Major. His vendetta against me, you know, this is supposed to be my leader. This is supposed to be the people that I'm supposed to emulate in times of combat. Because in the 90s, times were uncertain. Because we went to Africa, Somalia, the Black Sea, did some stuff there. Africa did some stuff there. So in the 90s, it was always busy. It was always a quick reaction platoon where we got to do some high-speed, low-drag stuff, but not like force recon or recon. It was more of like, we were the divas for those guys. So we participated in many of operations with them, but we were merely the flank support to provide any type of stoppage in case something happened. But I had this staff sergeant who had this vendetta against me, and everything I did, I tried. I never got it right. You know, I was late 2 hours, as I've defined in previous segments. I got NJP. I got put on EPD. I got sent to CCP. I think it's still called CCP. It just to break me down. You know, he thought he was still a drill instructor, and he thought he could just, you know, eat away at you, but you didn't realize, you know, that was already done, and you spend all this time building yourself back up, you know, chest out. I've got my Eagle Globe and Anchor, but he just tore us down. No matter what we did, it was never right. I remember standing in formation. You always had to shave twice a day. Fresh haircut once a week, you know, God forbid any of that. And it was just, you were getting thrashed. And I thought that was normal until it started getting, as an everyday occurrence. I started noticing that there were select few Marines, you know, it was like I was cornered, or I was that guy that, hey, if you need to take your aggression out on somebody, take it out on PFC or Lance Corporal Dunn. And, you know, I remember when we went to do some snow ops or some type of training in Fort Useless or Eustis or whatever it's called. I don't remember the name of it. I heard the sergeant and the staff sergeant talking about do everything in your power to get this Marine to go UA, or, you know, he's a piece of shit. And they were talking about me. And I held that resentment for such a long time that, you know, I thought that this was the way a leader was supposed to act. So, you know, when I picked up let me backtrack a little bit. When I picked up corporal, I thought that way it was supposed to go. When I picked up sergeant, I thought that's the way this is supposed to go. So I was treating my Marines as such. But let's just say 98, we did a Unitas. I think they call it Friendship of America now or something. I never backed down. I was always, you know, I was a radio operator for the lieutenant. I was always in his ass. I was always on the staff sergeant's ass. You know, I was in shape. I never faltered. I never fell out of anything. I've always ran twice a day. I got my 20 dead hang pull-ups, even though back in the days you could kip. You know, I was doing this left and right to try to satisfy this guy's hunger for his hate towards me. My promotion to corporal was done in a little office with no officer, just a sergeant and a staff sergeant, and they said, "Here, you're promoted, go away." That was my promotion. Make it null and void now, I don't give a shit. I don't care anymore. But that was my promotion. That was their resentment towards me to picking up NCO. And it ate at me. After 90, or we did the Unitas, I went over to Alpha Company. And I think we were like a Helo company at the time. And I met Staff Sergeant Witherspoon at the time. When I say this dude changed my life, you know, he stood up for me as a corporal. This staff sergeant, I always thought a staff sergeant or staff NCO needed to be like dead square, it just being a butthole. But this dude, he loved his Marines. He's not saying he wasn't soft, but this dude was hard, but he loved his Marines. He took care of his Marines. I remember I was going up for a meritorious sergeant board. It was me and 3 other corporals, and the CO's and first sergeant's pet was in there. I remember studying for a week for this board. I got every answer correct, and I got told that I couldn't get promoted because I had NJP, and that was the rule. I'm like, why did you let me go up to this board? The staff sergeant, this is the first time I've ever seen a staff NCO stand up for his Marines. He was yelling at the first sergeant, talking about bullshit. Then he came over to me and he says, "Don't worry about it, Dunn. I got you. I'm working on some stuff." You know, this is the first time a staff sergeant actually took care of his Marine. So the first sergeant and the captain hated me. We went to Fuji, and I had pneumonia again. For some reason, I get pneumonia. But I didn't have a fever, so there was really nothing nobody could do, because I always get walking pneumonia. And I was really sick, and I put my team into place, but I was just so frail and so weak that I couldn't do anything. The CO and the first sergeant, you know, they came over to me. He's like, "Your team is outstanding there, Corporal Dunn." And he put his foot on one of my aiming sticks, and it fell off. And this dude just went high and to the fucking right. And he started asking me these questions. He's like, "Well, your fucking stake, blah, blah, blah. If this wasn't here, what are your left and right lateral alignments?" So I was like, "Well, I'm a Marine, okay?" So I see this shed, this bush, this mountain, these stars. And I was just regurgitating the knowledge that was instilled into me. And he made it feel like I was showing off, that I was an ass. Later that day, I got a page 11 for dereliction of duty, which BS. But these toxic leaders, you know, you have this one staff sergeant Witherspoon, and you got these 5, and it just makes it look like, you know, these 5 are getting bigger and the staff sergeant's over here getting smaller, and they just start eating away at you. Like, why doesn't anybody like me? I am a Marine, you know, I'm gung-ho this, gung-ho that. Why doesn't anybody like me? And I went years, you know, living under a shell, being reclusive, not getting out, not meeting people, not doing very much of anything, just because the way I was treated in the Marine Corps. You know, I had good relationships with people I worked with, you know, same ranks, but they see it all the time. It's like, Dunya, you're just not fun to be around. It's like, I don't know how to be fun. And it's just leadership, you know, every Marine is a leader from the bottom up. And, you know, you're supposed to treat everybody with some common sense of leadership. You know, there's a militaristic, authoritarian type, but you're not supposed to carry a vendetta against that person. You know, if I did something wrong, I would expect somebody to help, you know, not help me, but tell me my wrongdoings and put me on a path to correct that. Not, you're an effing piece of shit. You don't deserve to be in my Marine Corps. Get out of my face. And that right there, it takes you from a high of, holy fuck, I've accomplished a lot, to like, oh, now I'm a piece of shit. I'm just like the bottom of the bottom. I persevered. I took that resentment and I just bottled it up no matter what I did to get promoted to gunny. I retired for a lot of medical reasons, but I gave up promotion to Master Sergeant because I wanted to retire. It's just, as you go further in the Marine Corps, you start identifying these toxic leaders. I remember when I was in Portland, Oregon, I had this captain who had a vendetta against me because he wanted my life. You know, he wanted my wife, wanted my kids, he wanted my life. And he shit on me every chance he could get. And I was like, well, sir, I'm your supply chief. I'm here to support you and take care of you, but you're shitting on me. Oh, you're a fucking piece of shit because you don't yell, you don't get in the Marines' asses, blah, blah, blah. It's like, because I'm a leader. I yell when I need to yell. I support when I need to support. This is how you get shit done. And nobody understood that, so they automatically assumed I was a effing piece of shit because I don't yell. I don't yell. I hate yelling. So toxicity is a plague in the military, and it eats away at your psyche because you get left with this feeling that I'm just worthless. You know, anxiety kicks in. It makes you start thinking, okay, who's talking about me now? You know, should I always be watching my six? Should I always, you know, be on the hearing, like, hey, why are you talking about me? Oh, it's affecting me. And it does, and it takes you from a very high position and it puts you at the bottom of the stack, and it just makes you feel like shit. And this is, you know, I've ran into Marines who felt this way. I remember one time I was in Pendleton and I was doing something over on Main Side, and I saw this male Marine crying, and I was like, hey, devil, what's going on? He stood up to tension, gunnery sergeant. I was like, sit down, dude, we ain't got time. I don't have time for formalities. You know, if you knew me, you knew I was a straight shooter. You talked to me like I would want to talk to you. I told him to sit down and start talking to me, and he was just talking about what I just spent the last 20 minutes talking to him about. And what I told him is, you know, if you ever watched that movie with Clint Eastwood, Heartbreak Ridge, you know, when they're out there running and that guy's having to run around the platoon and Clint Eastwood is over here, hey, don't give that piece of shit the time or day. That's what I kind of regurgitate to him, because that's the only thing I could think of. It's like, don't give these guys the time of day to think of you as a piece of shit. If you've done something wrong, fix your ways. You know, I don't like Marines sitting there seeing Marines cry. You know, we joined the Marine Corps to be the best of the best. But then you got these SOBs who think, you know, I've been in 30 years, this is all the fuck I know, I'm going to tear you down because I'm out the door. You know, I need somebody else to take on my legacy of making shitty leaders. And I talked to this Marine for a good 30 minutes because I was a gunny. I didn't give a shit. You know, I had all the time in the world. And I spent a couple hours talking to him. Apparently, he was off or something. I don't know what it was. But just sat there and talked to him. You know, I talked to him like he was a human being. And I said, hey, you know, forget the formalities, man. Just tell me what's going on. And he's like, well, I don't get in any trouble. I was like, you ain't telling me. Look, I don't give a shit if you call somebody Susie Rottencrotch or Jody. I don't care. Just listening to him made him feel better. And that I knew was what leadership was. And that was some of the stuff that I never had. And I never had it until I retired. You know, I had this sergeant major, you know, always fucking gunny done, you're a piece of shit, you know, go fuck you, sergeant major. Not with all due respect, but just go fuck yourself. Just because I wasn't on the in crowd. I took care of my Marines like they were humans. If that doesn't make sense, then you should go back to the drawing board. I don't need to yell at you. I just need to talk to you. Hey, you know, I blah, blah, blah. But if I needed to, I got in that ass. I wasn't afraid of that. I wasn't afraid of anybody. But I felt that leadership needed to change. So I educated myself. And I had the best last 3 years of my career supporting my Marines at every avenue I could get. You know, I put up blockage between all these toxic leaders that used to come in there and just snatch up Marines. Like, whoa, buddy, you need to come up in here and ask me for a Marine. You don't come up in here and snatch. You know, it's like, well, I need a Marine. No, go fuck yourself. And that's my mentality. I took care of my Marines like they were my kids. And that was the positive annotation that I could give to my Marines, because I didn't want to be that person. Sorry, I'm a little parched. I didn't want to be that person that was going to plague somebody with toxic leadership. And for me, it has taken a while. I'm finally understanding. I'm not afraid to speak to anybody anymore, but I do have the anxiety that flares up, that kind of gives me a scratchy voice, or kind of makes, you know, the heart palpitate a little bit. But I've learned from that mistake of, you know, if a change needs to come, it needs to happen now. And so, but it took about 16 years of toxic leadership, 20 years of toxic leadership, to actually help for me to figure out what I needed to do to end my career on a positive note. So, given with all this rambling and talking, leadership holds a serious role in somebody's mental stability and mental health. So if you're surrounded by toxic leaders and you can't find your way out of it, just give yourself, you know, tidbits of information. This isn't going to last forever. Don't give them that, hey, you're a POS or you're a shitbird. You know, try to put up a mental block. You know, that's what I did at the final years of my career. I wish I would have known what I knew now. So if you were in my shoes, just talk to somebody. Make sure you got that support group. Make sure you got them buddies who actually understand you. And that's what helped me through this. Because all we do now is we laugh and joke about it. You know, I saw that sergeant major that used to get up in my face and who I used to tell F off. I almost ran him over. You know, I was like, Carl, you can't be running out in the streets. And this was at work. And he about literally shit a brick when he saw me working here. Like, oh, done, you're not going to amount to anything. Well, listen, bucko, I've got shit to do in life, and I'm doing it. I'm living the best life I can now, not in the past. And he just still had this resentment against me. So don't be that person. Don't go through life resenting people, because it's going to take a heavy toll on your mental life or your mental health. So if there's things that you can do to prevent anxiety flare-ups, issues with mental instability, just understand there are good people out there that can support you. Just forget all these people that have plagued you with toxic leadership, toxic upbringings, and just go through day by day and just smile about it. Well, I've rambled on. I hope you find this journey beneficial to you as I do it to me. And I will talk to you soon, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks.